Peace. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Hey, first off, man, somebody let me know if y'all can hear me pretty good, man. Make sure this mic is working. I didn't know. Somebody just put something in the comment box. Make sure you can hear me, man. Anybody, any kind of sign. Hey, can you hear me now, Brother Melvin? Am I coming through pretty clear, bro? What's going on, Brother AL? Bet. All right, y'all can hear me, man. All right, so I want to cover ego again today. I want to cover mainly the differences between self and ego, because I know we've talked about this over the last few weeks, 1 or 2 videos. But what I'm understanding is if we don't go to the if we don't go to the absolute bottom floor of this subject, you really don't understand the grand scheme of things, man. Because unless you go to the bottom floor of this conversation when it comes to self, when it comes to ego, I'm telling you, brother, you're leaving a lot of meat on the bone, man. You're leaving a lot of meat on the bone, and you're traveling through this realm without a true understanding, man. So today, man, we're going to focus on knowledge of self versus knowledge of ego. Let's talk about it.
First of all, the greatest thing on the planet is the knowledge of self, and basically the knowledge of the universe. For the mere fact that you are even interested in this or remotely interested in this at this particular time when shit is going on crazy out here, it means that you are the special evolved beings. Stop thinking like a human. You got to start thinking as a God. G-O-D, generator, operator, and destroyer. Is it not written in your law that ye are God? John chapter 10, verse 34, 35. But what is the hold up is that the actual gods do not realize they're God.
Let me start off by saying this. I knew that at a very young age that the messages that I was learning, the stuff that's coming from the pulpit, the messages coming from the deacons and the men in the neighborhood, as far as my spirituality was concerned, like I knew at a very young age that I didn't know what my truth was, but I knew that I was only getting a fraction of what I was supposed to know. And to be honest, I think if a man lives to be 1,000 years old, he still only received a fraction of it. But I knew at a very young age that what I was hearing in church and what I was hearing in all these places, what wasn't going to be the message that I rode with, what wasn't going to be the wave that I surfed once I got out on my own, right? Even after my appreciate that super chat, Fun, man. I'm not sure if my keyboard is working, man, but appreciate that. Give you a big fat at ease, man. Even once my father passed away and I got old enough and I was, driving my own car, having my own job, I was still deep in the church. On Sundays and Wednesdays, I was still going to church and Bible study because again, that was a source of light. Again, I knew it wouldn't be my final truth, but it was still a source of light for me, right? And then when I started getting older, I started understanding like that there were several different practices and that there were several different versions of a man's truth, right? And I began to get interested in my spirituality. So I can remember a certain point in time where I said, you know what? Over all things, life was good, man. I had the home, had the cars, had the beautiful wife, out of all things, I said, God, I want understanding. Like if you take everything away from me, this is what I want. I want to know why I'm here. I want to know what this world is about, because surely goodness and mercy, it ain't about getting jobs and paying taxes and just singing Kumbaya for 100 years and clocking out. Like there's more to this realm than that, right? And just like the other day, I made a video saying, when we go through the fire, like when hard times come our way, like it's us creating that. So with me asking about with me asking, for more information, more knowledge on why we existed, brothers, it came our way. And you've heard me tell the story 1,000,001 times. I don't have to go through that, man, where I lost everything. It was a hard time. It was the fire. But I can tell you something beautiful that came from that, man. It put me in position where I had nothing except the source to lean on. You know what I'm saying? My job was gone. My spouse was gone. My lights were out. I didn't have anything else but the source. And that's why I needed to be for my questions to be answered, man. Like, that's why I was when I learned about Neville Goddard. That's why I was when I learned about Bobby Hemmett. That's why I was when I learned about James Allen, Wallace Waddles, Napoleon Hill. That's when all this information started coming to me, man. And the first thing that I understood, the first thing that really shocked me, man, is that the whole time I was looking for, God, it wasn't this being in the sky that I was supposed to be searching out, man. It was revealed to me that this source that I was looking for, this source that I've been reaching to the heavens for and crying to the heavens, I realized that source was inside of me. You know what I'm saying? And this was just the surface of my journey of finding self. This was just the beginning of my version of finding self. So to understand this, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, what is knowledge of self? Like we hear that term on the gram, we hear it on the book, we hear it on YouTube all the time. What is knowledge of self? Well, I can tell you this, brothers. I can tell you this, sisters. What knowledge of self is not? Knowledge of self is not, living in the Himalayas and wearing a certain type attire. Knowledge of self is not having an afro or dreads or dreads. Knowledge of self is not knowing your history or knowing about the events that took place in ancient Egypt, the things that took place in Jerusalem, the things that took place in Africa. Having that information is good. It's good for the culture. It is good for yourself, but it's not knowledge of self. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think knowledge of self is a costume. You see a brother walking around in a daishiki in a big beard, and you automatically think this brother has access to something you don't know. Knowledge of self can be in a person of any shade of color in any attire, right? So what is knowledge of self? Knowledge of self is three things. Knowledge of self is 1, knowing who you are. It's 2, knowing what you are. And it's 3, knowing what you're capable of. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to bring it up. What is knowledge of self? Knowledge of self is knowing who you are. Knowledge of self is knowing what you are. And knowledge of self is knowing what you're capable of. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Now, to get a better understanding of this, we have to go to the beginning. We have to go to the beginning of time, so to speak, right? You have to understand that in the beginning, whether you're going through the Bible or whatever, through the Big Bang Theory, whatever you want to go, in the beginning, you have to understand before there was anything that we could see, before there was anything, there was a constant energy. There was a constant energy that had always been, that can never go away, and it's just a constant energy. Now, a lot of us call that God. You can call it whatever you want, Buddha, Allah, the Most High. The Kabbalion calls it the All. That's the one that resonates with me, at this portion in my life. But you have to understand that before there was anything, there was the All, right? Now this is where things get a little confusing. This is where things where it seems so minor, but in the grand scheme of this, leaving this one piece of information out is crucial. Leaving this one piece of information out is game changing, and you'll see, right? So now that we first understand that the all existed, that God is the only thing that existed, then we say, well, okay, we all come to the conclusion that God made man in its image, right? God made man in his image. But see, this is where the confusion comes in, because God didn't make this. Like us as human beings, mankind, hands and a body. That's not what the Most High, that's not what the all created. What the all created was something in his image, in its image, right? In its likeness. And the all has no physical body. So what it created was mind. What it created was consciousness. And to be honest, to even say the word created is not the right term. But because to say created is to say that something was born. When you talk about the stuff that we're made of, it's always existed. We've always existed. To say it anyway, if you want to put it anyway, you have to say that the all pretty much just rationed itself out and delegated it. But it always existed. And then you have to answer the third question. What are we capable of? Well, if we're made in the image of the Creator, then it's simple. We're capable of doing the exact same thing that the Creator was doing, or it's capable of doing, and that's creating. You know what I'm saying? And that's creating. What's going on, brother Flexus? Always showing love. So you ask, if God didn't create us, if God didn't create, the things that we see around us, all the matter, if God didn't create that, if God created mind instead, then how was all this stuff created? It was created by us. So you have to understand how things are created. Let me see if I brought this up. You have to understand that the only way things are created in this third plane, the only way things are created is by vibration. And those vibrations come from the thoughts of the mind, of our higher self, what they want to call that. That's how all matter is created. If you read in the Kabbalion, it says this: modern science informs us that there is really no such thing as matter. That what we call matter is merely interrupted energy or force. So you have to understand that God energy first is constant energy, right? And anytime our thoughts send out a vibration, that's how all things are created. That's how water bottles and pens and highlighters and books and homes and money, whatever. That's how all matter is created. That's how all matter is created. And this is backed up by, this is backed up by all the philosophers. The brothers I named a second ago, Wallace Waddles, and Napoleon, Goddard. Everybody comes to the conclusion. Everybody, you can date back to how far you want to go to. It all comes down to thoughts becoming things. So what I'm saying is nothing new. What I'm saying is nothing new. But to understand it, like a lot of people have eliminated that step, and I'm telling you, you don't understand how crucial that step is. It's to understand that the Most High didn't create these avatars. That our minds created everything. Our minds sent out interruptions in this God frequency, and that's how we got what we got what we have now. That's how our lives are created. That's how the good times and bad times are created. That's how our successes and failures are created, by that exact same mind. Think about it. Really think about what it would be like. Brother Ivy, appreciate that super chat, brother. Not sure if y'all can hear my button, man. That is to you, brother. Appreciate that 25. Much love. Think about this for a second. Think about having a youngster and you build a sandbox out back, and you say, you know what, this sandbox is yours. Like have your way with it. Create. You have the same ability as I do in this sandbox. Have your way with it. Man, the youngster is lit. Goes out there, man. Goes to the sandbox, and it's already castles made. You got trucks out there. You got homes. You got. It's already done. The Legos are already put together. The child gonna turn around and say, man, like what you want me here for? Like, what am I supposed to do? If all this is created, then like where's the fun in that? You want to send me to a world where the Legos are already put together? Like what am I left to create? So I'm telling you that the source of all things, the Most High, God, Allah, the All, whatever you want to refer to, that did not create this third dimensional world. It created us in His likeness, which is mind, and our minds cause vibrations, and that's how we get material things, including ourselves, right? So think about this. Think about that same youngster on that same playground, right? Now, let's say that youngster does go out there and it's just raw sand, just raw Legos, right? And he goes out there, or she goes out there and builds the castles, builds the rivers, builds the roads, builds the bridges, builds all this new world, right? Now that youngster wants to place itself inside of this world, right? So what does the youngster do? What does the youngster do? Appreciate that super chat, Royology. Says dreams literally become reality. Facts. Dreams literally become reality. What does that youngster do when it says, okay, now this world, this play box, this place where I have my playground is all set up now. Now what that youngster wants to do, he wants to place himself in it. But that youngster just can't say, you know, all right, well, let me stand up and stand in the sandbox. No, he goes to the toy box. He goes and looks up under his bed. She goes and looks in the dollhouse and find any kind of figure. You know, it don't matter if it's white, it don't matter if it's black, it don't matter if it's a G.I. Joe, it don't matter if it's a Avenger. Whatever that child wants to bring to this world, that this little toy now represents him or her. So when they set this child inside of this house in this sandbox, that figure is now representing them. That's how this world is created. That's how our avatars are created. These physical bodies. It is mankind has formed this world, and it's like now I want to play in that world. Like how can I get in that world? And we create these avatars, and we place ourselves in it. And we place ourselves in it. So now that we know what knowledge of self is, let's go to that avatar that has been placed in that sandbox, right? Now that we know what knowledge of self is, what is knowledge of ego? Because at the end of the day, ego is simply a representation of the mind. Ego or the body is simply a representation, a physical representation, a third plane representation of mind consciousness. That's the only thing it is. That's what ego is. That's what ego is, a physical representation, a third plane representation of the mind. So you ask your question, what is knowledge of ego? What is knowledge of ego? Well, I can tell you this. As above, so below. It will be the same. Knowledge of ego is knowing who you are, knowing what you are, and knowing what you're capable of. I'm going to say it again. As above, so below. Knowledge of self is knowing who you are, what you are, and what you're capable of. Knowledge of ego is the exact same. Knowing who you are, what you are, and what you're capable of. Right? So as a third plane being, as a third dimension, as a human avatar, right? Who am I? I'm an avatar that's represented by my mind. I am present in this illusional world, this world of matter. I am a manifestation and a representation of my mind. You know, what am I? I am an interruption in God consciousness. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, my higher self, whatever you want to call that, I interrupted God matter with my thoughts and created this. What am I capable of? I'm capable of experiencing anything that I want once I become one with my mind. Now I'm gonna tell you this, brothers. I'm gonna tell you this, sisters. This is where things get sticky. And this is the part where I've hit on this a time or two, and I'll mention it, but I never go below surface, right? Like I'm always talking about the hierarchy, right? I'm saying for any man to function the way he's supposed to, the hierarchy must be in place. And I always say, God, man, da, 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 and I go through that whole spiel. But if you go to the inner workings, if you go to the nuts and bolts of the hierarchy, this is the hierarchy. The third dimensional plane, ego, self, and the all. That is the hierarchy. At the same time, that is what the Trinity is. And that's what they don't want you to know the Trinity is. I'm going to say it again, man. I'm going to say it again. The hierarchy is not just you going directly to the all or God or source. Think about it. These physical beings, we can't go directly to God. This is an illusion. It's not real. We can't go directly to God. And you have to understand that this is actually the Trinity, the ego, the self, the all. That's what the Trinity is. See, where the confusion comes in is we've been taught that the Trinity is outside of us. I'm telling you, if somebody can convince you that the Trinity, that a portion of the Trinity is outside of you, they've broken your circuit, brothers. It will take 1,000,000 years for you to get understanding. I'm going to say it again. If someone can convince you that a portion of the Trinity, that a portion of your connection to the all is something outside of you, you can never have understanding. You can never have understanding. See, when people talk about Christ, they're not talking about some man that roamed the earth. No. No. They're talking about your Christ consciousness. They're talking about your God self. Think about this. Think about this. Diggy Dane, appreciate that super chat. Appreciate the super chat. Think about this. This is biblical. We've all seen this. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man can come unto me except coming unto the Father, but by me. Think about how that's been interpreted over the last 2021 years. Think about it. Let it soak in. Think about the Vacation Bible School. Think about all the sermons. I can remember my father preaching this sermon. Think about all the time that we've heard this, and we've automatically placed our connection with the Most High outside of ourselves. Brother, that is the most misleading thing spoken on this planet. That is the most misleading thing spoken on this entire planet. That your connection with source energy has to go through someone outside of you. Has to go through someone that walked 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, because the story is the same. The same story is being told over and over and over for those that understand. Think about what it's saying, though. It's led us down the wrong direction, but at the same time, it's every bit of truth. I'm going to say it again. This one statement right here, John 14, has led the masses astray. At the same time, it's the truest thing ever spoken. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. But by me. What is that saying? It's saying unless you go through your higher self, the chain of command, you can't access that source. Think about this, man. Think about it. Because the only thing that's real is source energy, is God energy, is mind. That's what reality is. Anything outside of that, anything that's being created, whether it's this cup, whether it's our physical bodies, anything that has the ability to be born, to age, or to die, It's part of the illusion. It's part of the illusion. So think about what it's saying. How can it says Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man can come into the source, the all, except by me. What they're saying is, if you want to connect with the all, if you want to connect with the source of all things, Elijah, whatever you want to call it, you have to go through self. To sit here. That's why I say, that when people say what prayer is, it's not what prayer is. To sit right here in the third dimension, on the third plane, and recite words, thinking you're talking to God, is impossible. It's impossible. How can an illusion, how can something that's not real communicate with the only thing that is real? So what you have to do is you have to go through self. You have to go inside. And once you're inside, you're in mind. And once you're in mind, you're amongst the all. You're within the all. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say it again, brothers. I'm going to say that again, man. Because the next time you hear this, I want you to check it. The next time somebody says this to you, I want them to explain it to you. Where it says, Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man can go into the Father except by me. That's not saying that you have to go through some third party. That's not saying that you have to go through some source, some man that walked this planet that you've never seen, you've never met, and you telling me that I got to read this book and I got to go through what's his name again? Who I got to go through him? How is this working? That's not what it is. That line alone has led many astray. Millions astray, billions astray. What they're saying is the only way to get to source energy, the only way to tap into the all is to go within and be amongst the all. You know what I'm saying? So it's led many astray, and it's the truest thing I've ever heard at the same time. But the digger says social media has made a fortune off one question. What's on your mind? Our thoughts are powerful. Our thoughts are everything, bro. Everything. That's gold right there, man. I was talking about that the other day when I talked about the flood. Like that's what they man, I'm telling you, bro. The mind is what they want. Now let's think about this. Think about when a person says, and you hear this all the time, especially like if you're a fan of like a Kanye West, he talks about this all the time. Think about when people say things like, he's in his ego, right? Or she's in her ego. Let's think about what they're really saying. What are people really saying when they say that? What people are saying is, how dare you be great? What? I'm going to say it again, man, because I want you to absorb what's taking place. Now that we have understanding of what self is, now that we have an understanding of what ego is, understanding that self is mind, self is the creative power, any interruption in God energy is how materials are formed, is how ego is formed, and ego is just a physical representation of our minds. Think about what somebody is saying when they say, you're just in your ego. They're saying, how dare you be great? They're saying, how dare you try to achieve the highest version of yourself? They're saying nothing but that. Let's break it down a different way. If we understand that the mind is the creation of the ego, and the ego is a physical representation of the mind, right? Let's take this into I can use this example like my son, right? Now my son is a gamer, and if you look at the gaming system and a young child playing, a PS, whatever, it's the exact same thing. You have a conscious mind going through a system, creating an avatar that represents him on another plane. It's no different, right? I can remember when my son was about, man, he had to be about, I don't know, 10 years old, 11 years old. And I can remember he used to play his PlayStation, man. He used to play, that's when he started playing Call of Duty, brothers. He would play Call of Duty, man, on weekends from sun up to sundown. Sun up to sundown. He would spend all these hours, he would spend all this time. He had the little books, he would read and get information, get the hacks. He played it all the time. Now, every once in a while, he'd be like, Dad, can you come play the game with me? And I'm like, cool, man. Like I'm a gamer. The old me was a gamer, right? Now think about, I sit down beside my son. He's sitting there playing the game, right? And before we start playing the game, here I am. I'm getting on the game. I'm entry level. I'm an E1. I have no rank. I have no money. I have no weapons. I have no nothing. I'm just a new player, right? And then he says, "Well, Dad, hold up. Like let me get my player squared away, right?" And he's buying Humvees. He's buying tanks. He's equipping himself with equipment. He's getting night vision goggles. What would I look like saying, brother, you're all in your ego. Like, what are you doing? You have to understand that if you're tied to mind, if you're tied to your purpose, if everything that you're doing is associated with your purpose, you're not tied to mind. You're tied to self. If all your instructions are coming from self and are going toward your mission, you're tied to self. How can you be in your ego? To be in your ego is actually the opposite. So for me to say, oh man, like you've done all this work, you've read all these books, you spent hours on the game, and now you wanna put more things toward your purpose, toward your mission, and I want you to, and I'm sitting there saying you and your ego. How dare a person say that? Because what they're saying is, how dare you be great? How dare you be great? I'm gonna talk about this, man. Anytime, like when someone is in their ego, like that is a real thing. Being in your ego is a real thing. But let's think about what that is. Let's think about what we're saying when we talk about that. A person that's in their ego is simply what a person being in their ego is simply what Napoleon Hill in Outwitting the Devil calls a drifter. Think about this. If the way we're supposed to operate, is get all our communication, all our decision making, all our thoughts coming from the mind, because our mind is simply our prayer. Our mind is simply our representation of God energy. Like God energy is a constant. That's what mind is for us. Mind, and I say it all the time, mind is our prayer. Like our mind should be constant. Like it should be never changing. Whatever we set our meditations and go and set our dreams and our goals and whatever we want our vibration to be, our mind should be stuck there. It should never change. It's our prayer, right? So me being in this ego, me being in this third dimensional avatar, all my instructions should come from mind, because my mind is tied to my purpose. My mind is guiding me where I'm going. So I'm not in ego, regardless of whatever I accumulate to go toward my mission. That's not ego. That's me living in purpose. That's me tied to my mind. Now, when a person is living in ego is when they separate from that mind. When they pause for a second and they start looking around at the world and, oh, like, let me observe what everybody else is doing. Like screw my mission, screw my prayer. What is everybody else doing? That's when it gets dangerous. That's when it gets dangerous, brothers. That's when, going back to the flood, that's when you become subject to other things. When you start listening to TV and you start listening to radio and start listening to your next door neighbor, and you want to do exactly what the rapper said do on the song, you're living in ego now. You separated yourself from mind, and now you're just acting off. Think about this, going back to the exact same scenario. Think about a child playing a video game. You're controlling it. That avatar is doing exactly what you tell it to do. Think about if that thing just shifted into demo mode. And I just made a video talking about demo mode. What if that avatar in the game just stopped and just started roaming around? Start going in everybody else's house, looking around. It's like, man, I'm trying to tell you, like we have a mission. I'm representing mine. We have a mission. Follow my instructions and you're gonna be good. And it's just running around. It's going watching TV. It's getting in everybody's business. It's now a drifter. That avatar is now a drifter. Anytime you separate yourself from mind, you are now a drifter. Because think about what Hill said. It says when a person is drifting, it says they are and I don't misquote up. Well, think about what it said when it said the only way to avoid drifting. It said the only way to avoid drifting is to become a person of definite purpose. And the only way you can be a person of definite purpose is to be plugged in to self, to be plugged into your representation of the all. And let me say this real quick, man, because this is another thing where people get confused. If we were made in the image of the Most High, in the likeness, the capability, and we reside in the Most High, and then I said it's we don't have the ability to, as third dimensional beings, to go directly to the source of all things, that we have to go through our Christ self, to go through self, right? Think about this. Once you go through self, and once you're now in your mind, see, even now we're taught to still go to some other source. But think about if we're made in the exact same image as the source, then where should we go? Any place outside of self? If we have all the exact same answers that source has because we're an exact image, then once we go inside to self, why is there any reason to go anywhere else? Because that's the creative source. Like, that's where all things are created. You have to understand that when you think about God, see, man, I'm telling you, when you think about God, you have to look at God, if anything, of course, as the source of all things, as the all. You can't override that. You know, when a person says that I am God and there's none greater than me, that person is full of crap. So you have to understand that the all exists, right? But you have to look at that energy almost as a referee or a governor or a judge, because there's nothing that we can experience in this third dimensional world. There's nothing that we should have to go inside to self, and from the point of self, then go somewhere else. If we're made in the image of the all, then where else can we go? That means that all the answers are in us. So sort of the first part of confusion is telling you that the circuit is broken, that you have to go to somebody else to get to the source. And then the second break is somebody telling you that you have to go somewhere else besides self. You know what I'm saying? Think about this. All prayers are already answered. There is no going to some energy source and requesting blessings to be bestowed on you. That makes no sense. For a person to believe that means they what? Have no knowledge of self. They have no knowledge of self. For you to say, well, I got to go to the Father and do all this stuff, it's like I live within the Father. All I have to do is go within self and I'm already there. And once I'm there, all things are answered. Now, again, we have to understand that the source is the only thing that's real. Anything that's matter, it's all made of the same stuff. And it can age, if it ages, if it dies. I mean, we all know that at some point, these avatars are going to go away. We can't live forever. You know what I'm saying? So at some point in time, when we're trying to create, our creation is going to time out because our time is expired. But anything outside of you leaving this realm, all that stuff is for you. It's already given. It's already, you know what I'm saying? Like there is no going to the Father saying, God, Father God, like, you know, it's hard times. You know, I've been nice to everybody. I've been doing all this stuff. Please bestow a blessing on me. The Most High, the source, is sitting on the sideline looking like, who are they talking to? You know what I'm saying? It's like, did you not make the first meeting? Did you not hear me say I made you to do exactly what I do? Like I'm simply an observer in this thing now. Like all power has been given to you. And that's what they don't want you to know, brothers. That's what they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know what self is. They don't want you to know how ego is tied to that. Because once you understand that, brothers, you become immortal. Brother, you become powerful. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people ain't ready to have that conversation because a lot of people are so comfortable A lot of people sleep good at night just knowing that there's something outside of us that's watching over us, that's protecting us, that's looking out for the boogeyman. And if you want to say that, then that's true. But you have to understand that it's mind. That it's your mind looking upon you as if you're on a playground. The mind, which is our real self is mind. This is not real. Our real selves are our mind. If you want to put it, it's looking down on us, just saying, okay, that's what I created. That's what my avatar is experiencing. It's like a kid on a playground. When you're playing with the G.I. Joe, we are the G.I. Joes. And anything that the mind says is taking place is what's taking place. Again, all things are created by the vibration that comes from the mind, the vibration in God energy. So there is no asking for something, man. There is no asking for something. And when a person is saying that a person is in their, a person says, oh, this person is in their ego. The only time a person can be in their ego is when they disconnect it from mind. You know what I'm saying? You know what, man? It's like, it's crazy because it's so opposite from what we make it seem. Like when I'm out and about, man, and I see somebody, let's just say, for example, I see a young lady, man, and she, her hair is all pink, or I'll see a guy and he's tattooed on his forehead, on his face, and all the way down, or somebody that's just doing something outside of the norm. See, we have to understand that when we see people that are going so far against the grain, sometimes that person is actually tied to self. Because see, what the ego does is seek validation. The ego is what seeks validation on this plane. So anytime you see somebody just walking the upright life, these are the people in their ego. Because they're worried about what everybody else is saying. You know what I'm saying? That's what the ego is. You can't be worried about what everybody else is saying and doing if you're tied to self. When you're tied to self, you don't see anything else. You know what I'm saying? So when a person is worried about what everybody else is doing, when you're worried about what everybody else is saying about you, when you're worried about what everybody else is doing, you're living in your ego and you're not tied to source. You can't do both at the same things at the same time. You can't do both at the same time. And think about it, man. Like once you're tied to self, it's like you're constantly on purpose. Like 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter if I was living right here where I am. It doesn't matter if I was living in some billionaire palace in the Emirates. It doesn't matter if I was living up under some bridge in a cardboard box. I'm going to be tied to self. And what I'm doing right now is what I'm going to be doing everywhere. If I'm homeless on the street, brother, I'm still going to be tied to purpose. I'm going to be sitting there telling my same spiel to the brothers right to the next and left of me. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a billionaire, trillionaire, millionaire, and I'm amongst another, another group of people, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. Anytime I unplug from that and start doing anything else outside of my purpose, I'm now in my ego. I'm telling you this, man. I can get online, I can get on YouTube, and I can go and find at least 10 videos of somebody talking bad about soul. And I'm talking about somebody that knows me personally, right? You have to understand what that's about. Not even that. Say when somebody is talking about you, people are spreading gossip about you, people are doing all this stuff, right? You have to understand what the objective is when people do that. You have to understand what their objective is. What you have to understand is when people are spreading rumors about people or doing this right there, what they're ultimately trying to do is to get you to unplug. There's no other question. They're simply trying to get you to unplug. You know what I'm saying? They want you to stop doing what you're doing and back up and say, oh, hold up. You said I did what? Because now what are you doing? You're no longer tied to self. Now you're tied to that person. You know what I'm saying? Think about the Proverbs 5 woman. That's ultimately what she's doing. Think about the Lactodectus, the black widow. That's ultimately what it's doing. It's saying separate from the Most High, separate from self and pour into me. any person, male or female, that says, you know what? Stop focusing on your goals and focus on the rumors I'm spreading about you. Focus on the videos I'm making about you. Focus on the memes I'm making about you. Focus on that. Please, please, please. I want you to come out of self like me. Be like me. That's the only thing a person is saying. Come out of self. Being all ego, right? So this is the thing. So a person can be caught up in ego, right? That's a real thing, separating from self. At the same time, and we're going to wrap this up in a minute. At the same time, a person can also be caught up in self. You know what I'm saying? Being caught up in self is just as dangerous. I'm going to say it again. A person can be caught up in ego. Being caught up in your ego is when they separate from their mind and they start operating based on the things they see in this world, based on the things that come on TV, based on the music, based on what the neighbor is saying, based on what the rumors are. That's when a person is ego. But when they plug back in, they're on self. So separating from self and operating in ego is a real thing. But operating only in self is a real thing too. And to be honest, it's just as dangerous. For y'all brothers that aren't in the power circle, sisters, well, I know your sisters aren't in power circles. It's all brothers. We've been reading, what's going on, brother Justin? We've been reading Kabbalion, right? And if you dive into the Kabbalion, it talks about this, right? It talks about a man that's only, that's pretty much lost in self, right? And it's called, this portion of the book is called the chapter where it's talking about the divine paradox, because that's what it is. It's really a godly or a holy oxymoron when you think about it. And it talks about people that are caught up in self. Now, we talked about what knowledge of self was, knowing who you are, what you're capable of, what you do. We know what knowledge of self is, but the book said this, and I ain't gonna lie, when I read it, it checked me. When I read it, it checked me. And what the book says, and I'm paraphrasing, but if you want to go check it out, it's the divine paradox. What the book said is, there are going to be some people that have, in so many words, that have knowledge of self. That these people know where they came from, they know who they are, they know what they're capable of. In other words, they know that they were created in mind consciousness. They know that this mind consciousness, once that God energy is interrupted, that matter forms. It says they know this. It says, but these people are still considered to only know a half truth. That's a real thing, bro. It said these people are only knowing a half truth. And it said, and it's ironic that it's called the divine paradox, because that's exactly what it is. Again, it's a spiritual oxymoron. And what that divine paradox is the fact that a person understands what's real. Mind, all. That's what's real. It's saying that a person knows that that's real. A person understands that anything that's created is not real. It says, but since that person understands that it's not real, they pretty much just take themselves out of the game and live in reality. Brother, I did that for several years. Once I found knowledge of self, I didn't want to go anywhere else. I was like, well, shoot, like what is there to do but to reside in this? Brother, I can spend I'm telling you, there was a point in time where I could spend several hours of a day. Out of a 24-hour day, I could easily spend 5-6 hours in meditation. Because what I was doing was living in that world. I was living in self. I was living a whole life, man. I was calling it manifesting. You know what I'm saying? Because I was creating a world in that life, but I fell in love with the spiritual. The spiritual was so peaceful because it was exactly what I wanted to be. I fell in love with that world. And it says these people are living a half truth. These people don't really understand what's taking place. You have to understand that the full manifestation process is a balance of both, of knowing self and knowing ego. Like that's the circuit. Again, I just said that was the trinity. Ego, self, and all. Like if you just operate in all and self, it's like you're just kind of bouncing off the walls in the 5D. It's like you need to complete this circuit, man. It says these people know only a half truth. And then it says this later on in the book, and I ain't paraphrasing. It says, even though that we know this is a half truth, we still have to treat it as if it's real. In other words, we know that we know that all these things are an illusion, but hey, we signed up for the game. Like, we're in the game. You have to act, you have to govern yourself as if it's a real thing. Like, play the game. You know, going back to a youngster playing PlayStation. If I buy my son a PlayStation and give him the controller and he gets an avatar and sits up there, what is it going to look like if he just sits there and just stares at the back of this guy's head on his game? And it's like, bro, it's like if you want to be in the game, then you might as well play it. Like if you want to be there anyway, you might as well be the highest version of yourself. You might as well connect to your mind and do the most you can. Experience the highest version of yourself. And that's what it's saying a lot of people doing that are caught up in mind. So just like people are caught up in ego and separate themselves from the spiritual side and just operate in this world, there are a lot of people that operate in mind. So it's all about balance, man. It's all about balance. Now, we're going to wrap this up, man. I want to ask one question, though, before we go. Like, it's all about, like, the ultimate goal, because I want to keep these within an hour, man. The ultimate goal is to master this life. The ultimate goal is to master this existence. The ultimate goal is to master our knowledge of self. The ultimate goal is to master what our ego is. Again, it's about balance, right? So in order to stay in tune with that balance, right? In order to stay woke, like a lot of people say, right? A man only has to do one thing, right? A man only has to do one thing. And that one thing is a man must ask himself one question twice a day. Again, to stay in balance, to stay on top of self and ego and stay plugged in and move around about this world like we're supposed to, a man needs to ask himself one question twice a day. And I wonder if anybody can tell me what that question is. Can anybody tell me what that question is that a man should ask himself twice a day? One question, twice a day. Let's figure out here in 30 seconds. Be right back.
He gives actual quotes that you probably never even heard before. He said that Henry Ford was aware of it. All of them were aware of it. This is the secret inner teachings that Napoleon Hill was not necessarily able to give out. This is one of the things that's missing from the secret. You are actually a broadcast tower that's broadcasting energy into the universe. And you wonder why you get the results you get and the people show up in your life, because it's what you're broadcasting.
It took me the longest out, when things weren't going my way, I was like, you know what? There's something I'm not doing. And I was trying to figure out what that thing was. I would go to these books and say, you know what am I not doing? What do these people know that I don't know? What do I see people that are succeeding? Like, what do they know that I don't know? Brothers, if y'all aren't part of the power circle, I'm telling you, it's one of the most powerful things that I've experienced. You can look at any of my videos. Go in the description box. There's a link to the power circle. It's a Zoom format, iron sharpening iron type conversation. I normally come on and give a quick spiel about whatever we're studying collectively. And then we just kind of just go from there, man, and learn from each other. And I'm telling you, man, I've learned so much from these brothers. Like these men have changed my life. And a lot of these brothers are in the chat, man. A lot of them, changed my life. So, and I got to get these brothers credit. Like, a lot of the content that I ain't talking about, it's based on a lot of stuff that I've chopped up with my brothers in the power circle. So yeah, definitely consider entertaining the power circle. Is definitely a wonderful thing. But going back to what I said before we close out, I said in order to function like we're supposed to, in order to stay woke, in order to stay aware, a man must ask himself one question 2 times a day, right? And I said, what is that question? And brothers hit it on the head, man. Brothers hit it on the head. I begin the first brother said it was Brother John Kennedy. Brother said, who am I? That is the most important question you can ever ask yourself, man. And a man should ask himself that at least 2 times a day. That one question 2 times a day. As soon as he wakes up and just before he goes to sleep. Why do you say that, soul? Why must a man ask himself those questions or that question at that particular time? Who am I? Because you have to understand, man, that as soon as you wake up in the morning, you have to understand that as soon as you pick that cell phone up and get the scrolling on the gram, scrolling on the book, scrolling on the tube, you have to understand that when you cut that Good Morning America on, you got to understand that when you go to work and you at the water cooler and gossip is taking place, you got to understand when your boo is calling up telling you what happened, in the news or whatever. You have to understand that's part of the program. That's part of influencing who you are, what you're going to experience. So the first thing you need to ask yourself when you wake up, you have to define it before anybody else defines it for you. You have to wake up before your feet even hit the ground. You have to say, who am I? What am I tied to? What is my purpose? What is my avatar? Like, what represents me? Before I let anybody else tell me what it is, let me define it myself and go throughout the whole day in that energy, tied to that purpose, tied to that prayer. Because I'm telling you, man, 1,000,001 times a day, that's all the world is trying to do is take you out of that, man. So as soon as you wake up, man, you have to define that for yourself. Who am I, man? Who am I? Like, that's the most important a man can ask himself. That's the most important question. And then before he goes to bed, he must ask himself again, why is this, soul? You have to understand. You have to understand that when we talk about self, the mind, you have to understand that that's where everything is created. You have to understand that there is nothing created in this world. Now, you can go to the gym 7 days a week, 5 hours a day, and get swole. You can go to your job and work overtime and get a fatter check. You have to understand that that's not created here. That's created in the mind. That's where all things are created. I said that to say this. If we know that that's where all things are created, if we know that any seed that we take there, whether we call it auto-suggestion, whether we call it planting a seed in our mind, there are 1,000,001 names of it. If we understand that whatever we take back to mind from this place is going to just regenerate itself, brother, we have to be very cautious of what we take back to it. We have to be very cautious of what we take back to it. So at night, because y'all understand this, the place that we go when we meditate, the place that we go when we sleep at night is the exact same place that we go when we quote unquote die. We're going back to the same place. It's the exact same place, right? So if we understand that's where we're going, brother, it's critical. It's critical, man, that we baptize ourselves before we go to this place, right? It's important that we just sit down for, even if it's 2 minutes, and say, you know what? Okay, I was on the I was listening to TV today, man, and TV told me that the economy is falling. Okay, I heard that. The radio told me that I'm supposed to feel this way about women. I'm supposed to treat women like this and disrespect it, right? Okay. The TV told me that I was supposed to, that if I wanted to be successful, I had to have this much money in the bank. My girl should look like this. Okay, I heard that. The TV told me that if I do a certain thing, I'm going to have these certain ailments. Okay, I heard that. I got to take all that data, right? I got to take all that data I heard, then I got to sit still and say, you know what? Who am I? Like if I'm aware that all of my thoughts create the vibrations and the interruption in God frequency and create my world, then I have to understand that whatever I heard throughout the day is irrelevant. If I'm the source energy, if I'm the creator, all I have to do is ask myself, who am I before I go over there? And define myself. It's a loop. It's a circuit. It's the Trinity, man. I'm telling you this. If you ask yourself, who am I, as soon as you wake up and as soon as you go to sleep, brother, I'm telling you, within 48 hours, within 72 hours, within a week, your world is going to be different, man. You're going to see, if you define yourself at least twice a day, your world is going to be different. And what you have to understand is, you're already defining yourself. Whatever your situation is right now, whatever your health level, your money level, the boo on your shoulders, the band on your shoulders, you're already defining yourself every day. That's why your frequency is what it is, because you're defining it. You know what I'm saying? You're defining it, man. I'm telling you, brother, you have to literally, and I don't know no other word to use besides that word. You have to baptize yourself before you go to bed, man. Take it all in. Say, yep, I heard all of this. Boss told me that I might do some layoffs. Okay, I heard that. Who am I, though? If I'm creating this world, then who cares what they're saying? Who am I, man? I'm telling you, brothers, we already going over an hour. I'm telling you, brothers, understanding what self is, understanding what the ego is, I'm telling you, brother, as above, so below. As above, so below. Once you understand that, brother, it all makes sense. Once you understand that that's what the Trinity is, the all, the self, and you, once you understand that there is no being that roamed the world and did certain things, and now my salvation or my connection with the all or the Most High or Allah or God, my connection goes through someone else, that's simply this world breaking the circuit. That's simply the world wanting you not to understand what the ego is, not to understand what the self is. Because a lot of people, and the reason I want to talk about this is because a lot of people will hear the word ego and automatically get defensive. Like, oh yeah, that person is in their ego. Like this is a bad thing. This is part of the boogeyman. You know, no, the ego. And I'm telling you, I'm saying that from a place of a person that didn't know this not too long ago. I've made videos where I said, you know what? In order to find, enlightenment, you must kill the ego. I've said that. And once I found understanding, it's like, no, to kill the ego is to kill everything. As above, so below. To try to wipe the ego out is trying to wipe the other end out. You know what I'm saying? Like the mind has no ability to function in the ego if you're trying to suppress the ego. No, understand the ego. Understand the ego and understand that this ego, or the physical representation of yourself, should never unplug from the mind. The ego, the physical representation of ourselves, should never disconnect from the mind, because now that's when you are living in the ego. I'm gonna tell you this, man. I know some very powerful spiritual people that have a gift that could be blessing the world, right? But instead of that, they want to unplug. They want to unplug and do other things and not even spiritual things. I know people that could be having their own body shop. I know sisters, man, that should be having decorating businesses and doing all these things. And it's like, you could do that if you plug into self, because your self is your prayer. Your self is a representation of the Most High, which is constant energy. Like whatever you put in self is constant. It's constant. That's why I always say when you go to meditation, like there's no development in meditation. Like you can't go to meditation and see yourself improving, because it's constant energy. Whatever you go in there as is your prayer. Once that becomes your prayer, it's constant. You come out of that constant energy, get back in ego, and you move accordingly. You plug in. You act as if. You go into that state and never come out. And you can't be plugged in. You can't unplug and still be in that state if you still here looking around what everybody else doing. If you want to be, Twitter fingers and this person doing this. If you want about what everybody else, you can't be tied to source. You're living in ego, man. You're living in ego. I try to keep this under an hour, man. I kind of want to start having these power hours every day. God willing. So yeah. Knowledge of self. knowledge of ego. It's your boy Soul Immortal. And I'm out.